Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 97 Boys. Today, it is just one of the 97 Boys. Well, one-ish, because another 97 boy has joined us. One of the OGs of the Lad Chat, Robert Pete, has joined us. So, welcome, Petey.
Thank you very much for having me on.
No problem. Obviously, in the current climate, things happen. We've not been so fluid recently with posting just because we can't see each other as much and we can't book in those slots to see each other. And me and Taka are very busy with work. So things are crossing over and we're just missing recording times. So Pete's stepping in today as co-host, really. We took a trip down memory lane last episode. So this one, we can probably, you'll guess, it'll be a very similar thing. We're just going to have a natter. We haven't really seen each other over lockdown that much, maybe like once or twice over the year. So it's been not much, has it?
No, I was trying to think the last time we've seen each other would have been, well, obviously last year, but it would have been the midsummer. Was it when we went to the Sun?
Maybe when we went to the pub, yeah.
Crikey.
That was June.
That was in the summer.
That was in June. So,
that must have been the last time we saw each other in person. Christ.
Yeah. But
it sucks.
It does suck, and it feels though like time hasn't really. I don't know. That was ages ago, but it doesn't feel like it was
that long ago.
It doesn't feel like I haven't seen you that long, like 7, 8, 9 months, whatever that is.
No, it is bizarre. I think time feels like it's still quite comprehensively. Like, I think sort of like 2 years ago I started my job, and now I'm like, well, hang on, like, where's 2 years gone? So yeah, it's been a bit of a bizarre 12 months, to say the least.
Let's break down your last 2 years, because you've had a pretty mad 2 years, haven't you?
He's not that mad.
For the average Joe. So let's rewind to like finishing uni.
Yeah.
Stepping into the real world. Because I mean, I'm not going to get this right in the chronological order, but you've left uni, you're living in London, you're doing law work, you're then coming back and COVID hits, and then you've not got a job and you was going to go traveling, and then COVID fucked that, and you're working in Tesco, and then you're not working in Tesco, and then you're working in law again. So let's just where we are. What's the
well, so if we go back to when I finished uni, I didn't have like law, like the area of law in Skensey is like quite notoriously hard to get into, and you have to do an internship and it's time consuming. So I didn't apply for that. So I was just working in Nuovo. And then my girlfriend at the time, who got a job in Italy, was moving to Milan. And as anyone that might know me, like, I'm a bit of a sop. So I was like, oh, do you know what? I'll learn Italian. I'll go and be a bartender in Milan. I'll do it. It'll be great. It's such a superb idea. And it really was not a superb idea, because I booked my one-way flight and then got dumped. But ever the one to keep going, I applied, got my dream job in London. And the way it works with a lot of law jobs is you start in the future. So the job offer was for a year's time. So I was fortunate enough to find another job, kind of as like a legal assistant. So like you said, moved to London, like kind of got into the life. It was for a year, and then I had 6 months after that year of work where I kind of didn't have to do anything. And then I'd start at my law firm. So like you said, like, I had a great time in London. I think there's a picture of me on the floor in Covent Garden, shows how fun a time I had in London. You're there.
I think I'll stand on you.
Yeah, I mean, things never change. And then so that was February 2020. I worked for a year, came to February 2020, let my lease go on my room in London, moved home. I finished my job, spent sort of like £1,500 on flights, so flights to New Zealand, flights to Australia, visas to go and work in the US as a climbing instructor, like all of this, like outlaid it. And then like a week after I booked my Australia flights, Australia closed. and then New Zealand closed, and then I couldn't get into the US. So it was like, well, what do I do? Went to Tesco's one day, and they had like a paper advertisement. They were like, oh, anyone want a job in Tesco? So for like 3 months, I worked in Tesco, which I probably was the most overqualified person to work in Tesco, but it was a good laugh. But yeah, then fortunately enough, got my old job as a legal assistant back. So living at home rather than living in London, because there's no reason to go into an office. So yeah, I kind of have had, when I think about 2 years, it's been a mishmash of different things. And obviously gutted that I couldn't go traveling. But hopefully sometime in the future I'll be able to go. But yeah, so, 2 years of mess.
Italy. Moving to Italy. Let's
yeah.
What's going on in your head? What
when I did it?
When making that decision of being like, I'm going to live in Italy and just be a bartender. Was there I'm going to do that for 6 months and then come back? I'm do that forever and become rename myself Matteo, or like what?
Become one of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something.
Get your hair slicked back and black trousers.
No, it wasn't forever. I think the point was that at that point in my life, I'd graduated, I'd done that, and applying for those internships kind of could be done from anywhere in the world. And I think, relatively speaking, if I needed to come back for an interview, Italy is like a £20 EasyJet flight. Do you know what I mean? Home, get ready and go to these interviews. So in my head, I think at the time, my girlfriend at the time, we'd lived so far apart at uni. And I was like, well, I'm always up for taking like a new experience out of something. So I was like, do you know what? Actually, it will be fun. I'll find it interesting because I'll learn another language to a good degree. I'll be with my partner who I really did like, and so I was like, do you know what? Actually, this is a great idea. Because when you do start working law, and when you start working any job, right, you do see your freedom kind of constrained, and you've got to take those opportunities. So it was a relatively kind of good opportunity, I thought. I don't think my parents did. They were like, well, what are you doing this for? But I convinced myself that it was a great idea. Like I said, booked flights, and it wasn't like I did all this in isolation. I spoke with my girlfriend at the time. We're like, okay, we'll just do it. And then I suppose it just didn't really work. Looking back, I can understand why people go, yeah, that was a dumb decision, because it's very, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to go from seeing each other once every 2 weeks, from a 3-hour train journey, one end of the country to the other, to living together in a foreign country, and someone starting a new job that's their career. So her job was in marketing, and me kind of just tagging along, not speaking Italian.
Was this decision though made before? Yeah, it must have been before she went to Italy, or before you went to Italy, or was this decision made? Yeah. And did you spend time with each other before you went? Like, before she went, did she start spending more time with you? And then how did that work?
Yeah. So I think, to put it into perspective, her family aren't from the UK. So she lives in France. Her dad's Italian, her mum's English. And so, for example, for her graduation, right, I don't know when, like, at least when I graduated and when I moved out of my house, and I'm sure when you graduated and moved out of your house, like, your parents come along in their car and they take all your stuff in 3 years and you go home.
Yeah.
Her family kind of came over for her graduation, but I was left in this position to drive all the way up to like the north of England, come back with her. And she basically then spent most of summer either in my house or back at home. But if she was in the UK, she was normally with me. So we spent a fair amount of time, and we'd worked together. How we'd met was we'd worked together at a summer camp. So, I mean, we were quite used to living on top of each other, like just that intensity of just all 24/7. I mean, for 3 months, we lived and worked together, saw each other every single day, in much more stressful environment than living at home. But I think from her perspective, it was a whole different ball game. She was moving countries, she was starting a job, and I think that was maybe the thing that didn't work. I don't think it was the
Yeah.
fact that we didn't get along. It was just a bit of a change for her.
How did you feel then? Obviously, you're giving up everything there. Like, she's obviously moving for a purpose. She's got a job. She's got family, I'm assuming, living in Italy as well. You are not throwing away, but you're walking away from dream job, or going in the right direction of dream job, to go and do something that's quite not your dream job of being a bartender. How, that's a massive commitment. I mean, you might as well just been married, if you know what I mean. Like, that's if you did that and you stayed together, then Christ, what, that's a big commitment, and you would have probably ended up getting married and stuff like that. So that's, I suppose, bollocks.
No, but I think you're right though. I think at that moment I was like, this is great, but like I said, going back to it, doing that I was a bartender when I was at this point anyway, right? It was just in Northampton. So doing that, I still was going to be doing these applications. I was still going to be spending time on that.
But you're moving away. You're moving away from your friends, your family. Nothing there. Yeah,
but I think when I think about it, wouldn't have been permanent, because it couldn't have been.
Yeah.
Purely because there would have been a point, right, where I would have had to have moved back, and I think maybe I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Because to me, it was a solution, but it was a very short-term solution, 6 months at most, right? Because eventually I would have had enough interviews, and I would have finally got a position, and I would then sort of think, actually, do you know what? Now it's the time to kind of do what I did and get my kind of legal assistance position or something like that, and move to London. So looking back on it, I think at the time it's really upsetting, because you put your life, like you said, I literally was saying to this person, my whole life, like I've got no family in Italy, no friends in Italy, don't speak the language, but I'm willing to just move.
That's mad. That's so mad.
Yeah, it's not the smart. I don't know. Now I look back on it, I was like, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. And now when I think about the positive experiences I had when I lived in London, I wouldn't say that it was the best idea I've ever had.
That's one too many concussions talking for you. That's what that is.
Yeah, I'm notorious for banging my head.
So, I mean, that's in the past. So let's forget about that. Looking forward, when we get out of lockdown, and as you've said, right now, there's no need to go into the office. You can work from home. So you've got your old job back. You don't have your lease in your room in London anymore. What's the plan there then, when we come out of lockdown and the world is back to normal, everyone's back in the office? I mean, that might not be for another 5 years yet, but
don't say that.
Well, I mean, to an extent of where offices are functioning to a full, capacity and stuff. I don't see. I think for a long period of time, people are going to still be working from home, if not forever. For some businesses, I think a lot of businesses will revert back to going back, but in the legal world, you can't work from home all the time. You're going to have to, because court will start to recommence. You have to start. I mean, court is still going on, I know, but a lot more limited stuff. Things are going to happen. You're going to need to get out and about. Your meetings like this is terrible. To go and meet someone in person is much easier. Your work practice is a lot better. So what's your mindset at?
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm fortunate that I don't have to go to court, because I think at the moment trying to go to court is a nightmare. Trying to go to court, video conferencing court's a nightmare. But yeah, I think I have every intention in the next sort of 6 months, eight months max, to move back to London, because you are right. I think the way working will change is we'll spend more time working from home than we did before, and jobs that previously kind of were a little bit sketchy for working from home, where you might not be able to because your boss won't let you. Now there's not really an excuse for any company to say you can't, in the context of if you've been doing it during the pandemic, clearly you can do it again. So I think we'll spend more time working from home than we did before. But yeah, I've got to say, I miss my office. I miss meeting people, like just breaking up your day. I don't think you realise it, but you spend a lot of time in your day you break it up by like going for a walk with someone, or like grabbing a coffee, or you do things in your day that you don't notice, and doing it from home, it just becomes monotonous routine. Like I can get up and go for a cup of tea, but it's not the same as going down the stairs and kind of choosing where do I want to go grab my coffee from.
And I think you bump into people you don't expect to sometimes. It's that unexpected kind of interactions you have with people, because at the end of the day at work, you're going to the kitchen to get a cup of tea, but you do not know what's going to happen your way. I remember once I went to go get a cup of tea, and then someone's run past me and their fingers spurting blood. So then my 2-minute tea breaks turned into quick, get the first aid box, let's wrap some plasters around that and see what's necessary. 5-10 minute interaction. You're never going to get that in your house. Well, you might get it in your house, but very, very rarely. It's very mundane, very boring, and you're not going to get that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've never had anything exciting as that, but I think in like you'll know as well, you learn most of the time. Like I feel like in education, you just learn by someone standing in front of you and explaining concepts to you, and you write it down in a book, and then you learn what the book says, and then you reproduce it. Whereas in real life, you actually learn by watching people do things.
Yeah.
You learn by seeing like someone who's done the thing you're learning before, and they do it, and you go, actually, I could do that, and then you do it. And you just don't get that working from home, because every conversation you have is so structured. Like it's, I'll meet you on Zoom at this time to talk about this point, and then everyone just moves from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting, and you just kind of end up in this kind of catalogue of just meeting after meeting after meeting, or about specific issues, and you don't, like you said, get those natural interactions and those natural learning points of walking past someone, seeing them doing something interesting and going, oh, what are you doing that for? Like, what's this about? And you get yourself involved. So yeah, I think I miss offices from a personal perspective. They're great for a social life, but also just being good at what you do. You need to be around people that have done it.
Yeah, I think as well from like a learning perspective, it's so difficult to learn because, you know, in the office, especially when I was leaving my old job, I was training someone else up to a high capability, and it would be like that. I'd be like, meet me on Zoom at this time for an hour session. We'd go on for an hour session. As soon as we finish, bang, done. That's your contact done for either the day or for that set period of time, because then you've booked in for another time with someone else. And in real life, it would be, come sit next to me, come watch me do this, I'll do this, blah, blah, blah. Take notes whilst I'm doing it and have a look. And then they go sit around their desk for 5 minutes, they start doing it. Oh, by the way, how did you do that first little set? And then you go, oh, just click that button. Oh yeah. And that's how you fix it. Instead, I show them, they get to that stage, they get stuck, they're like, shit, they don't know what to do. They don't want to ring back too soon because
they look dumb.
They look like they're going to, they feel like they're going to be dumb. And, or they can't get through because I'm already on another call. They might text me, I won't reply because I've not looked at my phone. And then 2 hours later, I then reply. At this point, they've maybe forgotten 80% of the bit afterwards. And then you've got to show them again. And it's just really hard. I remember when I like first started learning stuff in my old job, and it was very much like, you sit there, I sit here, you go through it, I watch, I'll try it again, and I'll keep asking you questions as I'm going along. I don't need to show me, just tell me, oh yeah, and then I'll remember, and then you pick it up. You don't get that. It's hard, and it's so hard. And now in my new job as well, it's exactly the same. I'm sat here on Zoom every single day watching someone talk to me, learning the law.
Boring, isn't it?
Well, firstly, yeah, it's very boring, but secondly, how can you like you said, it's all about watching someone do stuff. We've gone in a few times where we've not been able to do it over Zoom, and we've had to physically be there, obviously. And that's where I've learned loads. I feel like I've come back from those days. I feel energized. I feel motivated. I feel like this is actually like, you know, I'm loving this. Whereas then you sit here every single day in the same seat, in the same spot, the same jokes come at you, like, oh, the internet, we hate Zoom, blah, blah, blah. And
you're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, or someone's got a headset on and their microphone's sticking up there, so they sound like they're a million miles away.
Yeah.
It's draining. It's so draining.
It is. It's it's just, I think, the monotony of it, of just doing the same thing. I know I've got, unfortunately, I've got quite a large bedroom, but my desk is in my room, so my mum said something to me once where she went, I don't see you Monday to Friday. And it's kind of like, yeah, you don't. And I think it's, at least in the industry I work in, it's quite heavy hours anyway. And I think working from home, there's this ability for people to just already think, I mean, there's already a culture in law of people thinking there's 24-hour access to people they pay to have around, right?
Yeah.
But it's even worse because they know, like, if someone says to me on a Friday evening, can you do this? I can't go, yeah, no, I can't. Sorry, I've got dinner plans. Because you don't, because you can't go anywhere. So there's nothing to look forward to. I do look forward to going back to an office.
To the contrary of that, though, I think that I developed a kind of a more of a brutal response to people when they ask that yeah, I can do that for you. However, I'm not doing that right now because I've been sat at my desk since this time today. I've not had as many breaks. Like you said, your natural breaks you have in the office, if you added them all up over a day, you might end up of getting an extra 40 minutes of breaks that you technically don't get contracted to, which is fine. Like, everyone should, I think everyone's entitled to that. I think everyone should be allowed that. As long as you get your work done and you work hard, that's absolutely fine. You don't get that at home at all because you only stop when you stop. And if you're got a busy workload, you're never going to stop. Turn around, I say, no, do you know what? I'm going out for a walk. I'm going out for a run because I need that mental stimulation. I need to get away. I've been stuck in these four walls all day. And guess what? Once I finish, I'm still in these four walls. So it's mentally, you can't switch off from that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've been trying to, like, say, sort of normally log off around 6:30, go for a run, or kind of got a rowing machine to go for a row. And then you've got that kind of period where you have dinner and then unfortunately kind of log back on. Law's quite micromanaged. Like, when I start work on an issue or a matter, I click on to the timer, and the timer, because it's billed by 5-minute increments, right? So you end up looking at the day and you think, Christ, like, naturally in a day, like you said, you have these breaks, but now you're like 2 hours just looking at this screen. You're like, I need to get life. I'm already fantastically poor at social situations. So when we come out of lockdown, I'm going to start sort of wandering around and not know what to do with all these people.
We're going to be the world's most anxious generation. Yeah. Like, I've already started thinking about that. Going out for dinner, going out for drinks. Like, God, don't get me wrong, I cannot wait to meet up with everyone and go out for drinks and stuff. But it's going to feel so strange, and it's going to be so, it's going to take a bit more oomph within yourself to actually get up and get out of the house, because everyone's very comfortable now just to sit here, not shower for 3 days, don't care what you look like, wear a hat all the time because I literally,
not have a haircut.
Don't have haircuts, yeah. Like, you start to, I mean, I definitely have cared. Like, if you go back to the beginning of lockdown, I cared a lot about how I looked and what people perceived of me and all of that. My appearance, I couldn't give a shit now. I literally would go to Tesco's in my pajamas and walk around. I mean, some people did that beforehand, fine, but you know, it's pushing you to a point where we, as a generation, again, where not just us, everyone, just slowly it's going to be so strange, so strange.
You are right. I try and make an effort on the weekend to try and put jeans on.
Some days in the week at work, I'm like, right, I'm actually going to put something nicer on because, it'll make me feel better.
Sometimes I feel like if you're dressed properly for something, like, you're a bit more focused. But yeah, it's a weird one. I think we're all going to kind of come out of it, and depending on how suddenly we come out of it, if it's a general sort of gradual easing of everything, then maybe it'll be a bit different. But I think if come mid-April or mid-May, someone goes, oh, well, you can all go to the pub and you're all going back to the offices now, I think it'll be carnage, but I also just think it'll be really sort of unsettling for a lot of people.
But they say the NHS can't handle all COVID cases at the moment, etc. There's no way the NHS can then handle all the mental health issues that will come with that. They just turn around and go, yeah, everyone can go back. Everyone will be having mental breakdowns because everyone's going to not know how to deal with it. So you can't tell us that the NHS isn't prepared for the COVID cases, because I can guarantee double the amount of people that are getting COVID will have mental health issues.
Yeah,
And we're
I suppose
struggling with that.
the other way of looking at it is that COVID is a physical like it's if you get COVID and you're ill enough to go to hospital, it's there in front of you as a medical professional, I suppose.
Yeah.
But with depression or anxiety or all of these kind of plethora of mental health issues, the displays of it are kind of much more slow burning when you think about it. Like if I think about how my mental health works, it's not if I'm ill, I wake up ill. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day, but there'll be periods where it's just kind of the monotony causes you to go into a depressive state. And that's much more difficult, I suspect, for a health service to deal with, because
100%.
people just will go in waves as to how they need help. They can't be treated as easily. It's not like put them on a ventilator, give them drug X, Y, and Z, and their lungs will be fine. It's how do you get people just be better in their own skin?
Exactly. When you think about it, when you have a bad day, right? Anyone, doesn't matter if you suffer from the most severe amount of depression or you have no mental health issues, you still have bad days. When you have a bad day, you don't want to talk to people about it because you just don't. Well, most people won't want to talk about it. You don't want to express your emotions because you are feeling sad. You want to either, depending on what type of person you are, but you would either want someone to pick you up and give you affection and be positive around you, be happy and motivate you, or you just want to be left on your own and you want to just ride the wave and kind of get on with it a bit. At that though, you could be at your lowest point, especially people that are at their lowest point, and then kind of creeping into the more depression side of it. People that are suffering really badly with depression, when they're at their lowest stage, they're not going to think, oh, do you know what, I want to go and get help straight away. Like that's not their people's first thought process. They're unfortunately during that is they're going to harm themselves. They're going to end their lives. They're going to harm others. They're going to result to alcohol and drugs. Like there's nothing in that where you go, oh, I want to get help straight away. Don't get me wrong. Some people probably have been suffering for a while and not done any of those things, but have been thinking about it, and then they think they need help because they're scared that they're going to do that. But it shouldn't get to that point. You should never have to get to that point. If they do what you've just said in April, May, and go, right, everyone return, August, September,
it would be a train wreck.
You would just have a black cloud around the country. Like it would be horrendous. Hopefully, I mean, I don't think they will. I think they will ease it because of the way they've done it before, but you hope they don't ease it again until, but properly. Let's not just ease it a little bit just to make people like, oh, it's Easter. Yeah, everyone can go to 2 households because it's Easter. Like, no, I'd rather not have anyone over at Easter. Give us another month, and then cases are less than like 100 and very manageable.
Be in a really good position for summer. Yeah,
like just allow people to slowly do things. I don't even care about anything. I just want to be able to socialize with a couple of people at a time. If you can have 3 people around your house at once, great. Then I'll have 3 different people, the different mates around at different times. Like I'd happily have that. I don't care about the pubs and restaurants opening it, from a personal perspective. Sure, the businesses want it open, but from a personal perspective and a mental place, you kind of hope that they'll allow you to at least socialize a bit better. Because look at the younger generation between the ages of from 0 when you're first born to 14, like you really develop some key social skills in those ages. They develop them now? No, because they're sat at home not talking to people, not able to play out with their friends. My whole childhood I was out in the street playing with friends and talking to people and stuff, and going to school and playing it. Like you learn it all there. And I don't really know much about babies, but I'm pretty sure their development is really important in the first kind of year or two of having that human interaction and other people talking to them. Of course they've got their parents, but they've not got random people meeting them, and they'll naturally build attachment and scared of any random person that comes up.
Exactly. But it is that, isn't it? It's I know when I've taught kids and stuff, like even teenagers, you go through so much. Like if I think back to when I was 11, 12 and then 13, the kind of change between that point at 13, so I think about my birthday's in May. So I suspect I'll have 2 birthdays in lockdown.
Yeah.
Now, if I think back to the idea that I could go from 13 to 15 in this period of like lockdown and not going to school, and I think about how different I was as an individual from 13 to 15, like the skills you develop, like just talking to people, like other people, not about like babies must go through so much development, but like teenagers talking to people, like
confidence boost.
So much you learn by getting stuff wrong around groups of friends, and also like, I mean, we met when we were 12, and you form these friendship bonds when you're 13, 14, 15, and they can survive, and you'll have groups of people that just have not met other people of their own age for 2 years.
How are you going to be friends with people?
Friendships?
How can you, if we met and we've only known each other a year and then this happens and then kind of 2 years go by,
starting again.
And then you go back to school like 15, 16, and then what? Well, we wouldn't be as close, and you're socially awkward. And I always think, you always say that sometimes, don't you? Like, if I met you now, would I still be friends with you? Because you look at our friendship group, especially how like we're all everywhere on the spectrum of stuff. And you put us all into a room now together as individuals, as new, fresh people, don't know who we are. Would we all be friends? Like, probably wouldn't attract each other. We'd probably all piss each other off, and we'd probably not get on as well. But the difference is we've grown up with each other, and we've learned differences, similarities in what we like and have in common with each other, and to accept flaws in each other and pick each other up in certain areas. There's no way now people coming back in 16, 17, they're going to want to be friends with someone that was friends with 2 years ago. And I mean, it was only a year ago, but by the time we allow people to go back in and fully have life, it's just, it's going to be interesting. And I think, how can you mentally deal with that as a child? I can't really think of how I mentally dealt with anything at the age of 13. Probably just running around.
I don't really. I don't think 13-year-olds have that reasoning. Like, I understand why we're in lockdown, and I can understand why, and I might hate it and it might get on my nerves, but I have that sort of like logic that goes, this is necessary. And if you're 13, you just don't have that part of your brain that goes, do you know what? All you see is, I'm not going to the one place where I see all my friends. I spend my entire life looking at a computer, and then the only interaction I probably get is through like Xbox or PlayStation, which is already a bad thing, because then you're bringing people back into themselves. Like you said, you played out all the time when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Like, kids don't do that anymore generally, let alone now. It's nuts.
It's hard, and I've started to see more now that I go to Tesco's and then I see like a group of like 5 or 6 kids that are like maybe 13, 14, and they've either lied to their parents and said they're just going out to meet one friend for a walk, which I think you're allowed to go do your 1 hour of exercise with one other person from another household, but they've lied, and they've probably just gone and met their friends. They're all at Tesco's, and that's their only social. And as much as it kind of pisses me off sometimes, because I think, hang on a second, I'm at home sticking to the rules and not doing anything, and you're with your mates. But I think actually, for me, for us anyway, the development isn't needed as much, and we're adults. We need to just fucking kind of suck it up a bit to an extent and get on with it, because this is just life, and this won't be forever. We're fortunate, we have jobs, we have a roof over our head, and we've got friends that we can just do Zoom with. However, kids, like we've just said, how important that is. If this happened to us, would we be in the exact same stable positions now that we're in now? Like, no, probably wouldn't be. And you then look at a long-term, like the effects and employment, crime, like how does that then have an effect on it? Because realistically, they're probably not going to go to university because they've not got that determination. They've not got someone, unless it's their parents, telling them they should do it. They've not got the almost peer pressure of friends. I was never going to apply for uni, but everyone in our friendship group did.
And school kind of made you.
And school made us. But, I never had an intention of doing it. I'm glad I did, because it made me into an adult. But that pressure's not going to be there from anyone. My parents didn't go to university, successful, but they don't have that knowledge to be like, oh yeah, you must go. Like their eyes, well, you can still be successful if you don't go.
Yeah, it is true.
If you've only got that, you know, like your parents and they're going off their knowledge, you're never going to get pushed into that somewhere different. You're going to follow their footsteps, and just because they got lucky doesn't mean you'll get lucky. It was very different 30, 40 years ago. And now kids are missing out on that. And we might have the most uneducated, generation behind us coming through. Yeah. We're lucky that I think we've just got through that. And I would say so probably from the ages of about 22 to 26, 27, heavily populated of going to university. So many people went to university. It was almost becoming too common. Like, you got a degree. Oh yeah, me too. Oh yeah, me too. Like, everyone had a degree. At least now, moving forward, you'd hope that, well, not hope, but I would imagine a lot of people drop off because they don't have the grades, don't want to because they can't be asked. And then the after effect of that will be then in 5 years' time, hopefully the younger generation will come through, be more determined, be like, do you know what? I've seen my older brother and he's doing nothing in his life. Oh, I see this, I see poverty, blah, 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 blah. Probably have another massive financial crash. And everyone's just going to be depressed again. So it doesn't look promising short term.
Yeah.
Long term, we can only get stronger from it. I think everyone's going to learn from it. Businesses have adapted. People's mental state is the most important thing over this last 12 months. Obviously physical as well with the virus, but mental state is the next most important thing. Companies are having conversations with people that they've never had before. Like, before this, I've never been, well, maybe once or twice been asked, like, how are you doing mentally? Like, how are you coping with things? And that might be because you're noticeably pissed off all the time, or you're noticeably upset, or like, it's not just because they're being nice, it's because you're sat there punching your desk every 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, it was almost like every fortnight there was a well-being meeting for people if they wanted to join it, and they would just talk about things and they could open it up. We're encouraged to talk about all this. Moving into my new job now, it's like been talked about so much. Do this, please. Like, you must like express how you feel. And if you don't, and it's fine. Like, but there's confidentiality. You can do it anonymously. Blah blah blah. Keep your mental well-being as healthy as your physical, and that's going to benefit people. And like you said, working from home and office and stuff like that, like, you're going to be able to obviously go back at some point, but if you're having, like you talked about, like, if you feel like you're feeling a bit low, that might last for a week or something. It gets to Wednesday and you're like I really don't want to go into work. I'll work from home. And you can just say, I'm working from home Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you need me, I'm obviously available, blah, blah, blah. Got no meetings. Can't say no. Like you said, why? How can they say no? Unless there's an exact reason, like, oh, actually, there's a whole team meeting. Okay, cool. Well, I'll come in at 12 for that, and then I'm going home to work from home for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and I think ideally, I suppose, maybe my opinion is the ideal when you're around people, and like you said, you can kind of gauge their emotional state.
Yeah.
I think, is it positive? So not necessarily banging kind of your fist on the desk and stuff, but if you see, this accounts for workplace or friends as well, but if you see someone who's down, you see your friend that's down, you see your colleague that's down, you can read those signs and you can kind of talk to them. Whereas when you're working from home, like you said, everything's very structured. You can't see it. So hopefully when we come out of it, you'll have a combination. You'll have that kind of emphasis on well-being in a formal sense. So like meetings, confidential phone lines, and kind of maybe bi-weekly catch-ups on how are you getting on.
Yeah.
But you'll also then hopefully get that social interaction perspective back, right? Like, you go, like, for example, if there was all of us from school and we were going, I don't know, we're going to go out for a drink, and one person was kind of sort of hanging back and being a bit sort of down, whatever, like, we as a group recognise that and we rally behind that person. And that's kind of the informal bringing people's mental health to the fore.
Yeah.
And hopefully when we get out of it, there'll be those bits and pieces as well. You'll have kind of a fusing of it all.
Yeah, I think, it's good that it's being talked about. I think it's the forte now of kind of a lot of businesses, that's what they strive to be like. Oh yeah, we're really good at that. You know, but I think a while back it was always like diversity and equality. That should just be second nature now. That shouldn't even need to be talked about. Like, of course, a female should get paid the same as me. If they're better than me, they should get paid fucking more than me. Like, I'm no better than a woman doing the job, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
But that was always like, oh yeah, look at us, we're really good, and that doesn't get mentioned as much now. Now it's more of the, oh look how good we are for mental health. We give our employees half a day on Friday, or look, on their birthday they get it off because we care about your mental health. Or, you know, a lot of businesses now are trying to bring in new incentives to get people to be like, oh, we're really cool, because that's what's important right now. That's all that gets talked about, apart from dying from COVID. Is I wonder how many people have died. I don't know the stats, but I'd be intrigued to know. And it's kind of hard because, like you said, COVID is a physical thing that happens to you. There's a disease that goes in your body. You can have a test and go, yep, you've got it. Depression, anxiety, whatever, comes in so many different forms. So many people have it, they don't know about it. They go to the doctors won't even recognize it, because one symptom to one person is different to another. You could have depression and you could want to kill yourself every single day, which is like the obvious sign of depression, which I think a lot of people see it as. I could have depression and, you know, just have a negative view on everything all the time, and it brings me down all the time. That's still depression in both cases. How do you measure that? Everyone has that side of them, unfortunately, but it's to the extent. But then it'd be interesting to see how many people with that have then killed themselves, or have then unfortunately passed away in the last year to the lockdown as well. I mean, I don't think it won't obviously be as high as the COVID numbers, but
it'll be higher than usual.
It'll be a lot higher. I know domestic abuse went up a lot and stuff, and just all these things. It's
scary.
Need to get us out of lockdown to allow man to be in his natural habitat. And I say man, you know, loosely, man, woman, female, LGBTQ plus. You know, whatever. Just get out there. I hate the fact I can't even, I don't know, go Snowdon, go climb up Snowdon, go Peak District, go somewhere in Scotland and have a, do you know what I mean? Just be able to just get out in nature for the day and just have a lovely walk. And you can't even do that. Yeah, you can go to bloody country park and have a walk.
Go to Abington Park if you want.
Yeah, but then you go there and you've got half of Northampton in there. That's not. Yeah. And then you're probably at more risk there than you are going to, I don't know, Tesco's.
Nowhere. Yeah, in your car, not speaking to anyone.
Yeah, like, why is it not better for me to travel somewhere for 2 hours that's in a massive area than go to my local park where everyone's going because that's the only place? But then the problem is not everyone sticks to the rules, and then you've got massive groups of people. My normal running route is horrendous. I hate it. It's actually making me hate running, because before lockdown, I ran. Unlike the rest of the population, I was a small percentage of people that already liked running. So I now don't like it as much because there's so many people out there that block the path and they will not move, and they look at you like you're a dickhead.
Yeah.
Or at the moment, the weather's horrendous, that you'll kind of run past someone and they'll move over the tiniest bit, but then you might slip because you've had to go off the path a bit more than you normally would.
It's muddy.
It's just,
you're right.
It's not.
I am one of those people that didn't like running before lockdown and have started running. So I apologise that I'm not part of the crew. But you're right. I run around Abington Park every Sunday, and today it was really quiet. But sometimes you run around it and you've got they're families, whatever. And I'm sure they're not breaking the rules, but like, it's so aggravating when you can see me coming. It's not like I'm Mo Farah, right? I don't run quickly, so it takes me a while to get to you. So you can see me coming from a long way off, and the path isn't very wide. And of course it's muddy, it's a park, and they just don't move over. You're right, it's probably like the most aggravating thing. It's just like, it's such a small piece of movement and such human kindness, just move.
Yeah.
But you are right, it is so annoying.
Frustrating. And it's going to be really interesting once lockdown's over, because I guarantee most people will stop running. Our advice to do it, you know, it's great for your mental health and it makes you feel good about yourself. That's a big reason why I did it all the time. It definitely relieved a lot of stress for me whenever I was feeling stressed. So please do keep doing it. Just if you can do it, just be respectful of people that are doing it as well. If you don't want to do it, then fine, but just move out of the way and allow people to do it. And also, there are dickhead runners as well that will just come at you and you've moved, but they still just stand in the middle of the, like, just respect each other. Just go opposite sides of the path. And
Exactly.
I tend to stop and fully move out the way, just because I know that it's just easier for everyone. Like, and it takes 2 seconds. But
You're right. I enjoy running now. I never enjoyed running before, so that's positive from lockdown.
Good, yeah. And I mean, I think it helps people, you know, coming out of this, and when life does go back to normal, hopefully it'll be something you carry on with, and it is something then it is good for your mental health and is good for, you know, your physical health as well. And a lot of people, you know, as a country, are probably in the more overweight side of things.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have lost that weight because they are going out doing the exercise. And I'm a summer cyclist, I'm not gonna lie. So I probably fit into that category of annoying cyclists that go out in the summer. I would not want to be out on my bike and -3 or whatever. I love in the summer, like during the first lockdown, I was out when it was really nice and warm on the country roads for a few hours, and it was great fun. And I'll go and do that again because it's a good change up. But
yeah,
just make sure if you're doing it safely and you're respectful of other people. Because
exactly, we've got to share it. I think that's one thing we all learn. Right, like there's enough of the outdoors for everyone, but we just have to share it, right? Like the pathway is only wide enough for 2 people. Don't take 2 of your people and block it up. Just be kind, because it's nice to go for a run or go for a walk and have someone actually be kind. When you don't see people all day and the person you do meet on the outside is kind, it's kind of a good lift for your view on human spirits.
Yeah, definitely. Well, on that lovely note,
covered a plethora of topics.
Let's call that a wrap. And thank you for watching or listening, whatever platform you are watching or listening on. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, give us feedback, all that. You know, I know we're not been very consistent recently, but we do appreciate anything you can do and give us. And PT, thank you for joining today. Hopefully it won't be the last time, and hopefully the next time will be in person. But yeah, thanks. Make sure to subscribe. Peace.